John, you're on the Larry Otis Show. Thank you so much for calling.
Larry, I contributed to all your campaigns, voted for you, and campaigned everywhere I could here in Santa Monica, California. And my two favorite phrases from Ronald Reagan are, government is not the solution, it's the problem. And my other good one was, Mr. Gorbachev, tear down this wall.
That's pretty good.
Well, there you go again.
That's pretty good.
Well, there you go again, Mr. Carter.
Well?
Oh, my God. Well, Nancy and I are up at the ranch. Well, Larry, here, and I'm going to throw this out at you, Larry. You're very smart, and you're really logical and rational. That's what I like about you. So I'm going to just give you a quick thing, and then you riff on it and get some response.
Okay.
So Donald Trump has basically straight up said, Israel is not going to coexist with the Palestinians in a two-state solution, and we're going to, this is just his throw out, we're going to relocate the Palestinians to a separate piece of real estate, okay?
Mm-hmm.
So he has broached the idea of separating these populations and literally moving millions of people. Okay, fine. But I have heard no one talk about, well, let's relocate the Israelis instead. Here is the beauty of relocating Israelis. You could go and use that as a bargaining chip with the Iranians. Since you're going to move the Israelis to Canada or somewhere in California, half the land in California is federal land, you create a new Israel way, way far away from the Middle East. So now the Iranians have no threat from the Israelis, real or imagined. So they don't need a nuclear bomb. So you get a 2-for-1.
John, you want to relocate Israelis from the Holy Land?
Well, they're going to relocate the Palestinians. You know what, Larry, let me give you the logical premise. Hold on. Let me give you the logical premise. The premise is what is best for America, not Israel. Because Israel's interested in Israel. Donald Trump is looking out for you and me.
Okay.
And if we go down the rat hole of a war with Iran, straight in the dumper, and he then becomes a war president, and Bibi Netanyahu and the war with Iran.
Okay, John, let me just respond to a few things that you said. The reason that we have this conflict is because the Palestinians and much of the Arab world in general refuses to accept the existence of Israel. There was a partition of all this land then known as Palestine that the British controlled after the fall of the Ottoman Empire. United Nations divided it into two states, Israel and Palestine. And within a matter of hours after the British soldiers left, Israel was invaded by half a dozen countries. Zero interest in recognizing Israel and zero interest in accepting Palestine, the state that they claim that they want. And then after the 1967 war, the Arab League issued three famous no's. No peace, no recognition, and no negotiations. And that's where we are. Israel has a state. It's called Israel. And the Palestinians could have had a state and still could have had a state because in the waning months of the Bill Clinton administration, they negotiated a state and that there would be shared supervision of Jerusalem as the capital of both states. And all Yasser Arafat had to do was agree to end the fighting, agree to stop the fighting. He refused, which tells you everything you need to know about whether or not the Palestinians truly want to have a separate state next to a Jewish state known as Israel. They do not. And the leader of Hamas even recently said that he wants there to be more October 7ths, not fewer, but more. So please tell me why the Israelis should relocate somewhere other than the Holy Land, a connection to which they've had for almost 3,000 years. And what Donald Trump is really doing is putting pressure on Egypt and on Jordan to accept some of these Palestinians. Because at one time, Gaza was part of Egypt and the West Bank was part of Jordan. And neither Egypt nor Jordan gave the Palestinians a state. And what Donald Trump is saying is, you Arab states, you guys are wealthy. Why is it that the Palestinians are still living in so-called refugee camps? Why don't you do something? Why don't you help them? Why don't you relocate them to your state? Why don't you put in money in places like Gaza, which has a beautiful, beautiful waterfront property? That's what Donald Trump is doing. But the Palestinians have zero interest in accepting a Jewish state next to them. That's why they keep saying from the river to the sea. It means the Jordan River to the Mediterranean Sea with no Jewish state in the middle. It is that simple. And Golda Meir is quoted as having said something to the effect of, "We will always have this conflict as long as Palestinian mothers hate Israelis more than they love their own children." In 2005, the Israelis moved out of Gaza, and Gaza held elections, and they voted Hamas. And one of their candidates was a woman who had, I think, 2 or 3 sons who had blown themselves up in homicide bombings. And she said something to the effect, "I only wish I had had more sons to donate to the cause." She got elected. So this is what we're talking about. And there's no way in the world that a terrorist state like the Palestinians would accept a Jewish state, and there's no way that Israel could, would, or should accept a terrorist state on its borders. That's where we are. Until and unless the Palestinians somehow are no longer indoctrinated to hate Jews, we're going to have this issue. And you tell me how you resolve it. When in the Quran, you have 3 choices if you're not a Muslim. You can convert, you can pay a tax as a second-class citizen, or you can be killed. And Jews are referred to as monkeys and pigs, and this is what these kids are learning from the time they come out of the womb. So you tell me how you resolve that. But moving Israelis, are you kidding me? Thanks for watching these clips from the Larry Elder Show. If you enjoyed this content, be sure to subscribe to my channel and hit the bell icon so you never miss a moment. More thought-provoking discussions are just a click away, so stay tuned, and we'll see you in the next one.